Hey, what's up everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and we have another golf video flying solo today. But I wanted to take a look at last year's leaderboard, and then I'll go over some of the players I like. Also, some of like the archetypes of players that I'm kind of looking for, because that does change. This ad is really screwing everything up right now, but I'm sure that it will not be extremely annoying the entire time. But maybe it will be. It will not be. It will be. So let's just go through. Let's just go through the leaderboard from last year. Because I mean, this tournament's only been played here once, so you're not necessarily going to see a great course fit statistically. But I think that the two types of players that finished well last time might give us an idea of what kind of archetype we're looking for. So let's just start at the top of the leaderboard. We'll work our way down, and then we're going to go to DraftKings. I'm going to pick out one or two players from every range, as well as some of the better plays that I think are out there. So if you look at the top three, it was Matt Wolff, Bryson DeChambeau, and Collin Morikawa. These are three very good all-around young players, right? So the field strength here is not as strong as in other events. So if you are a tour player that is looking to like shore up their card for multiple years or extend your card, then this is a good kind of tournament to do it. If you are an elite player, it's going to go up as a win. You're going to make a lot of money because of that weaker field strength. So Matt Wolff, Bryson DeChambeau, Collin Morikawa. Then we have other long hitters like Wyndham Clark, Lucas Glover. Sam Burns fits more into like the young all-around golfer. He's like 22 or 23. He is a golfer that we don't know a ton about in terms of how he's going to play long-term, but I think that he's not really talked about in the same way that Morikawa, Matt Wolff, Cameron Champ, like those younger guys are, Victor Hovland. But I think that he does deserve to be in the same conversation. Maybe he doesn't have that elite talent that they have, but I think that right now we don't know enough about these players to not include him. So he's somebody that I'd watch out for. Then in yellow, before MetLife kind of destroyed the setup that I had, we have a different type of golfer. So Adam Hadwin, Carlos Ortiz, Brian Harman, Troy Merritt, Fabian Gomez, Sean Stefani, Scott Brown. These are Denny McCarthy, Sam Saunders. These guys are not long hitters. So when I looked up a couple of different articles that I normally like take a look at when I'm building my own lineups, everyone seems to agree that strokes gained off the tee and through the approach seem to be the most important things. So like some players will look at that and think to themselves like, okay, well last year driving distance would have been an okay predictor because you had Matt Wolff, Bryson DeChambeau, and Collin Morikawa finishing at the top. But it's like those kinds of players can play well at any course and potentially overpower the course. When I'm looking for course fit, I'm looking more at like the not elite players that perform well. Like, because if there's an archetype there, then we can kind of see like, okay, well this guy would not be able to compete most of the time on a longer course where driving distance is very important, because they're like 15 to 25 yards back of somebody like Matt Wolff or Bryson DeChambeau. So Adam Hadwin, Carlos Ortiz, Brian Harman, those kinds of guys let us know that the shorter hitters can also compete on this golf course. So those are the two fits that I'm looking at first. I know that is like a lot that encompasses a lot of the golfers that are on the tour. But that's a good starting point because everybody kind of has their biases towards which kind of golfers they like to begin with. So now I'm just going to take a look at the DraftKings scoring on my other screen. So Matt Wolff will obviously be pretty popular considering he won this event last year. Lucas Glover was top 10 last year. I don't think that he'll be as highly owned. Like I said, the course fit, we don't know how accurate the course fit is from a statistical perspective because we only have 1 year of data. Russell Henley seems a little too expensive. He'll probably go under-owned. Then we have a bunch of guys that missed the cut. Doc Redman is 8,700. Doc Redman is another young player that I'm interested in long-term. So I think that I would be putting Doc Redman and Sam Burns in the same group of players as like Matt Wolff, Collin Morikawa, Victor Hovland in terms of, like, we don't know out of these players who the best player will be 5 years from now. Right now, it looks like it's going to be Matt Wolff or Colin Morikawa, but these other young guys are also very strong. So I will be trying to get exposure to them before they kind of like explode and get their first win under their belt. Max Homa, he's another young guy. He's talked about more than a Sam Burns or Doc Redman, but I think both of those guys will have a better career than Max Homa. Brian Harmon, 8,000. You really don't want to roster Brian Harmon at 8,000. Most of the time, I think you're looking at Brian Harmon when he's low 7s or high 6s or something like that. I guess he's more often in the low 7s. Johnny Vegas is somebody that I roster all the time. He's seemingly going to be relatively popular this week according to projections. Sepp Straka is another guy that I'm going to look for again. Siwoo Kim fits that other mold that I was talking about. So Adam Hadwin, Carlos Ortiz. That is certainly somebody that I'll take a look at. He's one of my favorite golfers. Carlos Ortiz, he finished really well last year. So let's go for more of those types of golfers. So Brandon Grace fits that mold, but Brandon Grace, even though he's considered an elite talent internationally, he hasn't really been able to put it together while he's like golfing on the PGA Tour. Emiliano Grillo had a bad week last week putting, but I think still long-term talent-wise, he's still a good option. Denny McCarthy's another short hitter, has a great last name, just like me. Xin Junzhang had a good week last week. He had a top 10. He's a golfer that I've looked at a decent amount. I don't think that he'll be popular, especially since he's at 7,000. Actually, maybe he will be popular because he's at 7,000. Then we have other players who finished in the top 25 last year, like Johnson Wagner. So Johnson Wagner, he normally performs really well around like the New York and Connecticut swing of things, because a lot of those courses are better for someone who's not going to destroy the ball. They're a lot more like shorter tree line courses. So Siwoo Kim, Johnson Wagner, Jim Furyk, they all perform well at like similar courses, and those players remind me of Adam Hadwin, Carlos Ortiz, Brian Harmon, those kinds of golfers. Then we also have Scott Brown, Fabian Gomez, Sean Stefani. Same thing. Those guys remind me of Johnson Wagner as well. Arjun Atwal finished top 25 last year. I have no idea who that guy is, if I'm being completely honest with you. There aren't a lot of great options underneath 7,000. There are some names. So like Jamie Lovemark is a player who will probably attract some ownership. But otherwise, Aaron Baddeley is a good name down there. And he fits that mold as well. So if you're looking for salary savings, maybe Baddeley is somebody you look at this week. He's only 6,300. Bo Hostler is under 7,000. Bo Hostler is another good young player. He's not. I don't think he's going to be elite long term. But he is somebody that I've tried to get exposure to in the past as a young player who hasn't gotten their first win yet. That's mostly it from under 7,000. So let's pick one of those guys. Let's clear this off. All right, so under 7,000. If I had to pick one player under 7,000 that fit the mold of Adam Hadwin and Carlos Ortiz, I don't really want to play Johnson Wagner. Let's see how Johnson Wagner has done recently. Oh, Russell Knox is under 7,000. I've played a lot of Russell Knox. He did not play here in the past. So Wagner's recent form is not great since the restart. Let's see Russell Knox. 9 for 19, that's not good. He's been cut a lot. Russell Knox is the kind of guy that makes sense to me at this course. Just looking at the name first reaction kind of thing. Who else would I go for down here? Yeah, it's pretty tough. I think more of a balanced approach is going to be pretty popular this week. Aaron Baddeley, I guess, is another one who just doesn't have great course, not great course history, great stats since the restart. Yeah, he's been getting cut a ton. Oh, Luke Donald's down here. Wow. Don't think I'm rostering him this week. So basically what I'm trying to find is somebody under 7,000 or close to 7,000 that fits that mold, because that's the kind of player that's the kind of archetype that outperformed what you would expect them to do. So maybe Xinjun Zhang or Chesson Hadley could be okay. I had somebody else that I was just looking at. Jason Duffner. Did Duffner play here last year? Finished 66th. Not great. So I'm fine with that. I'll go with Xinjun Zhang. I think he's a pretty legit player for someone who is coming off of the Korn Ferry Tour from 2 years ago. Xinjun Zhang is 33 years old from China. I think he can stick around for a decent amount of time. So I think he's fine down in that range. Ben Martin, Griot, Aaron Wise, these guys are all pretty similar in my mind. Let's go to the next one I want to get is something between 7,000 to 8,000. Kyle Stanley's an interesting player for me this week. This seems like the kind of course that Kyle Stanley can do well at. I think some people were on Kyle Stanley last week as well. Griot, somebody I always play. Charlie Hoffman is someone that I always take a look at. Rafa Cabrera Bello. He went through a streak where he was considered a very good player. Oh, Carlos Ortiz is out. Unlucky. They're saying it's not clear why either. Johnny Vegas. I don't know why Johnny Vegas is getting so much love this week, but I've seen him written up in a few spots. Like, Johnny Vegas is an elite... maybe not elite. He's a very good ball striker, and he is good with his long irons, but he is a pretty bad putter. So he would have to get hot. He would have to get hot with his putter. Brian Harmon, Ryan Moore, Sepp Straka. I could go back to the well on Sepp Straka. He hasn't really followed up that 8th and tied 14th. This could be a good event for Sepp Straka, because Sepp Straka is more in the line of like a young golfer that's maybe not elite, like he's not Bryson DeChambeau or Colin Morikawa, but he's a good young player. I would rather have Sepp Straka than Johnny Vegas, I think, this week. I think that I'll probably be chasing longer hitters. Yeah, so I think Sepp Straka's an okay play. Fine with Sepp Straka. Like I said before, I think Sam Burns is somebody that I want to be on early. Doc Redman is somebody that I want to be on early. Like, both of those players, I think, are better than Eric Van Rooyen. Eric Van Rooyen's kind of coasting based off of the performances he had in in majors last year. Who else? Tony Finau. I'm definitely going to be on Tony Finau this week. So those are my 5 golfers, I think. Those are going to be the 5 golfers that I start off with. I'm only planning on running out one lineup, and maybe I'll switch it up after this point. But like I said, I think the most important things this week are to get young golfers looking for their first win is like a strategy that I always use. That got me onto Bryson DeChambeau early. That got me onto John Rahm early. That got me onto Colin Morikawa early. Victor Hovland early. I played Victor Hovland at the Masters when he was an amateur. Like I think that's a good kind of strategy to use most weeks, but especially in a week where the field strength is a lot lower. Tony Finau had a really bad Sunday last week. I think that Tony Finau is still an elite golfer. He hasn't won, and he gets a lot of fanfare, but I don't think it's going to be easy for players to pick Tony Finau after his blow-up on Sunday. He shot a 78, but I would suggest looking at the ownership numbers for him. Doc Redman is an elite young player. Sam Burns is an elite young player in my mind. Like I said, they haven't gotten the results yet, but I think they will get those results. Sepp Straka is kind of under the radar. His last 3 events, he's made the cut. He had 2 top 15s, and he had the like 60th or whatever last week, which is not great, obviously. Let me just make sure Tony Finau is not extremely popular. Tony Finau is looking like 20% right now. I hope this is wrong, because this is saying Doc Redmond and Sam Burns are also 20% right now. I won't want them at that level, I don't think. Fortunately, we have a tree thing going insane outside right now. So that's basically all I've got for you. A short, simple video, which is against what I normally do. But hopefully this helps you kind of get started looking at golfers for tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.